This morning's edition of Family 411, we look into why your child may be acting up in school.
Plus, what can you do to tame your teen's temper? And what are the warning signs of ADHD? And here to help us sort out all those questions is Dr. Nabil El-Gouari. He is a child psychologist at Metro Health Medical Center. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Appreciate your time.
Our first question, it comes from Becca out in Sheffield Lake. She says, what are the signs of ADHD? What age is it usually diagnosed? Are there any vitamins or natural remedies that can help? I'm starting to suspect my 8-year-old son may have it. A great question.
Well, let's start with what is ADHD. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. So the two main symptoms of ADHD are hyperactivity, impulsivity, and inattentive behavior. Hyperactive behavior are the kinds of kids who are always moving, fidgety, on the run, blurting out answers in school without raising their hands. So that's hyperactive impulsive behavior. Inattentive behavior are kids who forget directions, lose things, disorganized, maybe a little spaced out at times. So that's inattentive behavior. So kids need to have those two, one or both of those symptoms in either home, they have to be both at home and at school. And they have to be for at least 6 months.
And at what age do they usually start showing signs?
Usually they're noticed when they enter school, so between 5 and 10. So an 8-year-old would be in the range where it might be noticed.
All right, our next question comes from Madeira, and she's out in Bedford, and she writes, my 15-year-old son can't control his temper, and he uses his fists when he fights with his brother. How do you get a teenager to stop this kind of behavior?
Well, sibling rivalry is a normal behavior. So, but fighting and aggression is not. I mean, that's really important. So parents should really make a clear boundary that physical aggression is not acceptable. But then also what parents can do are help children to problem solve their situations and really identify the triggers for the fighting. For example, a big trigger might be arguing over access to the new Xbox 360 that they just got. So having them figure out ways to figure out how to share that fairly is appropriate.
Don't have a lot of time, but what about if a kid just has a bad temper? How do you deal with that?
If they have a bad temper, I would say have a separation and cool off period. So send them to the room to cool off, to chill out, maybe go for a walk, get out of the house, get out of the situation for a little bit, and then come back and do the problem solving.
Okay, we have one more question here. This one's from Stacy out in Aurora. My 5th grade son keeps getting into trouble at school. The teacher says he is constantly disrupting the class. He's a regular at detention, and the thing is, he doesn't care. We have never had these kinds of problems with our 2 older sons. Any advice?
Well, first off, you have to have real good communication with the teacher. So you need to know what the problem is and under what circumstances. Then we could develop like a small behavior plan between the home and the school to reinforce the child's good behavior. Now, as she indicated, it might be a long-standing problem, so that might warrant a mental health evaluation by a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a developmental behavioral pediatrician.
Okay. Dr. Nabil, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Great to see you.
Absolutely. And as always, if you have a parenting question you'd like our Family 411 team to tackle, anything from potty training to peer pressure, maybe you're just wondering if your child is developing normally, if you have a question, chances are our Family 411 resource team has an answer for you.
Just log on to our website, myfoxcleveland.com, then click the tab for the morning show and send us in all of your information and the questions you have for our doctors.